Right, hello everyone, and welcome to this Tuesday's Darkcity special. We did have a guest lined up to come on, Shiva Burton. She's not appeared online as yet, and hopefully she will over the next 2 hours. But if not, I'm just hoping that she's all right. I was speaking to her last night, and she was fine then. So hopefully it's just technical issues or something of that nature that's preventing her from joining us. So what I'm going to do is outline myself, part of the message that Shiva wanted to get across tonight. And then I will introduce Brian Clare, who's on the show with us, who actually has worked closely with Shiva himself, and has been very active in campaigning on issues surrounding child abuse, and particularly institutional child abuse. There's a new website which is called Join the Dots on child abuse. And what the guys at Join the Dots are trying to do is bring all the various campaigners and groups from around the country and hopefully from around the world together under the Join the Dots banner, just to add mutual support and to actually describe the scope of the issue that we're actually talking about tonight, because it is endemic, it is worldwide, and it is massive. The cover-ups are very revealing in and of themselves. For at least 20 years, Shiva herself has been campaigning on the issues of child abuse and institutional child abuse to bring this story to light. And there has just been one cover-up after another, going back for decades. And at the highest levels of government and Whitehall, and even as high as Buckingham Palace, because we know the paedophiles are in operation within the royal households as well. And so, yeah, I would like to encourage anyone that's listening to do take a look at the Join the Dots website. It's actually a WordPress blog at the moment, so jointhedots.wordpress.com, I think, off the top of my head. And do try and get involved. Now, one of the things that's being highlighted on Join the Dots at the moment is throughout April, there's an awful lot of awareness raising going on across the country. I know on either the 14th or the 24th of April, I'll check before the end of the show, there's a demo in Wrexham. But there's stuff going on across the country throughout the month, and not just through demonstrations, but online as well, through blogs and videos and whatnot online. So if there's any issue, if there's anything that you want to actually get going yourself to raise awareness of these issues, then do contact the guys at Join the Dots. And go ahead with your own campaign, with your own initiative. But if you actually inform them about it as well, then, we get more publicity. And if there's any story that you want to tell, another thing that's on the Join the Dots website is NAPIC was an organisation that was actually investigating claims of institutional child abuse, hundreds and hundreds of claims. And the John Major government shut that what would you call it, that campaign down, that investigatory body down during his small reign back in the 90s. And so the aim now is to bring these issues right out into the open and into the light. One of the major things about childhood sexual abuse is the taboo about talking about it. Now, I think over the past 10 or 20 years, the taboo has reduced an awful lot, and many of us feel much more confident in speaking openly about our own experiences. But the investigations have all been hampered and shut down, and documents have been hidden away. And this is what we need to actually highlight, the extent of the cover-ups, because this shows the levels of involvement amongst very powerful, rich and powerful people. And also in actually bringing these issues to light, we prevent abuses of this nature happening in the future, because it's such a shadowy and dark world of child abuse. Children are kept in fear and grow into adults and are fearful then of telling their story, of being disbelieved. So the more of us that can come forward now and actually tell our own stories, that opens the floodgates and it shines a light into the dark for young people actually going through this now. And it prevents it from being able to continue. I myself was abused as a child by a family member. So one of my big things over the past several years has been to show people that we can actually heal from the traumas that may be inflicted during childhood. I know from my own personal journey that we can heal. Now, for myself personally, it took a long, long time and an awful lot of I guess black depressions and a lot of denial, a lot of isolating myself and, self-loathing and all that sort of stuff, until eventually, because what I found was that I was on a treadmill going round and round, and every time anything happened in my life as an adult, I would be thrown straight back into the emotional state of that abused child. And no matter how many times I thought I dealt with it would come back again when I was dealing with emotional issues as an adult, until the time came when I realised, and it dawned on me, that I could actually let this stuff go. I didn't need to keep on going back to those places I had dealt with it. And so when I say let it go, I forgave myself first. I forgave family members that weren't there for me because they didn't know what was happening to me. And I forgave the man that actually abused me. And that actually freed me from self-hatred and self-loathing, and from hatred and anger and feelings of neglect towards my family, and from the hatred and anger I felt towards my uncle. And that was about 7 years ago now. And I can honestly say that since then, I've had hard times. I've been through emotional times that we all go through as adults. But I haven't harped back to that same childish emotional state that I used to get in. I no longer drink or use any of the methods I used to use to kind of hide and shelter myself. I live right out in the open. And so just demonstrating that it is possible, it really is, with love and with support and with kindness to face these memories, first of all, and these emotions, and then ultimately to let them go. And there are many, many techniques to doing that. And that's one of the things I want to make sure that stays at the forefront of this show, because healing is the most important thing for anyone that's been through childhood sexual abuse. So I think I've probably covered the basics, but we'll go over the Join the Dots stuff anyway throughout the show. And right now, I'd like to introduce Brian Clare, who's himself, he knows intimately the work of Join the Dots and many other campaigns about exposing institutional child sexual abuse, and not just in this country, internationally as well. So, Brian, are you there?
Yeah, yep. Good evening, listeners. Yeah, the reason, one of the reasons I've come on the show is obviously to promote Join the Dots, because over the years, with the amount of organisations that I've known and everything, I think, to be honest, Shiva's goddamn shaves his goddamn good head, yeah. And it's the way that it's integrating with other groups as well. So if there is any other groups listening, we openly invite you to come along and join. It's not about being big-headed. It's not about like saying, oh well, I'm in charge of this, I'm in charge of that, you can't do this. It's about coming together for the children, yeah. And obviously, as some people know, I've sort of semi-retired, yeah. But like I said, the reason I've come back on is because I've joined the Dots. It's a damn good organisation in that, and what it is contacts all over the country now. And like I say, in the last few weeks, we've made contacts in South America, Paraguay, Peru, you name it, gone international, you know. But I would also like to mention the number of the police investigations as well. What's going on? Yeah, you're correct in what you're saying about the number of cover-ups. Yeah. But I do know, and I mean, I'll say this live, which some people's going to be surprised. Obviously, you've got the Elm House investigation, and you've got North Wales, which are the two of the big ones at the minute. But some of the campaigners don't know that there's actually another investigation, what's being run by the Home Office. This is not official or anything. This is run by the Home Office. This is, as far as I'm concerned, at my guess, yeah. And this is down to me and not Darkcity Radio in case they try and sue them. At the end of the day, this is down to Leon Britton. Yeah?
Oh, he's a known paedophile.
Yeah. What it is some of you might know, during the investigations in the early 90s and 80s, yeah, what it was, Leon Britton was actually put in charge of all the child abuse investigations. Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, Leon Britton, as far as I'm concerned, was one of the main organisers of child abuse.
Well, yeah. Leon Britton was one of the politicians that used the diplomatic bag to smuggle child porn into the country, according to my reading and research. Yeah,
and another thing, to those campaigns, what's been around a long time, will know about Leon Britton in the Brighton Beach meeting. Yeah. Where the Welsh Secretary told him that he would no longer be working under Margaret Thatcher's government as long as Margaret Thatcher was in charge, and he was sent to the EU because he was found in a certain he was found in a house in London abusing children along with Jimmy Savile.
Well,
in the News of the World had this story for years.
And
yeah, but obviously Maxwell. But obviously Maxwell being a friend of the government, you know what I mean?
You see, Margaret Thatcher's government, there were very many high-profile people in that government that we now know, members of her cabinet that we now know to have been involved in this institutional abuse and ritual abuse of children, including Leon Britton, Willie Whitehall,
Lord Robinson.
Pulling names off. Go on.
Lord Robinson.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
so as soon as Leon Britton was outed by the News of the World, well, not quite outed, but they got this scoop on him. She kind of distanced herself from him, and yet kept the other paedophiles in her office. Yeah. Okay.
And another thing that I'd like to point out, because I was working as a psychologist at the end of the 90s, and reading up, studying about satanic ritual abuse and that kind of thing, I came into contact with a few survivors, and one name that I kept hearing was McAlpine. And so this is a great stunt that they had to say, oh, we've shown that McAlpine obviously isn't an abuser. He was falsely accused by this guy, and they paid him a whole load of money. Well, I know almost certainly he was an abuser because his name kept coming up from people who didn't know each other at all, and this was years before all of this stuff started.
Yeah, you're right, because that's what I find. Sorry to interrupt, because that's what I've found. You know, it's like when I first started off in 85, 86. You know, it's like, say 87, you bump into somebody, they're telling you this bit of information, you write it down in your files, and like I have, and then say 5 years ago somebody else mentioned something else, and it comes together, and that's when you know that they're telling the truth, because these two people what's telling you in the 10 years apart don't know each other. You know?
And this is all part of joining the dots as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's correct. That's correct.
Linking these stories together to make a big picture, to create the big broad picture, put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Now, one of the things, I mean, I'm not boosting my own ego, but one of the things that I am good at is research, you know, because I know what I'm looking for, you know. So, like I say, I mean, I'll be honest, I set up a new page which is know about as well. But what I've been doing is I've been putting all the newspaper reports on there. And they're not like reports that I've knocked up myself, although some of them on there are my reports, you know. But ultimately, what I'm looking for is, I'll say it, I'm sick and tired of the organisations. I'm sick and tired of the organisations actually arguing with each other, you know, and getting under each other's noses, because it slows things down. But what I want to do is I want to bring all that information together with the 25,000 pages of documentation that I've got, and finally call for not just for an investigation into Wales, or just an investigation into Scotland or Kincora in Northern Ireland, an ultimate an ultimate investigation, you know, even if it's got to be done by a foreign body, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know I mean? And bringing the various organisations together that are dealing with this issue, and stopping the infighting and the silly little battles
a lot of the recognised organisations, and this is me as a survivor what went through what I went through, yeah. I mean, in the early years I did go to a number of organisations, yeah, but the thing was I couldn't trust them, because they were backed by government money.
Indeed.
Like I'll say it, like the NSPCC. They're always told to do all these investigations, yeah? But the NSPCC is supported by the government. The NSPCC are not going to come out and say, oh, well, a number of our former head of the NSPCC was a paedophile.
Which he was.
And they're not going to do that, you know? Yeah. We've got, the government have got to have something in place, right? Where I'd say, I mean, I'm not the person to do it, but say somebody who's been abused, who knows to look out for these signs, who knows to look out for these things.
Well, you know? I think because, I mean, we're 20 years and more down the line now, and we know what the government is about. We know that they are only about hiding the real nature of this issue and the scope of this issue. So I know a former head, as you say, of the NSPCC was a known paedophile. I don't know whether it's a former head or the current head of Bernardo's is a known paedophile.
Interesting.
So all of these institutions, these official government-type institutions or official charities, if you like, are really to be approached with caution. Now, that's not to say that there are not good people working within these organisations.
I would recommend... There is one organisation I would recommend people who's listening, it's called NAPAC, which is National Association of People Abused in Childhood, which is run by Peter Saunders. Now, I've known Peter long before he set up NAPAC, because a lot of the advice I gave him was my advice, you know. But that's the only one that I would trust.
Yeah, indeed. Well, wasn't NAPAC the investigations that NAPAC were doing several years ago? It was NAPAC that was shut down by the John Major government, or the investigations. Was that not NAPIC? NAPIC. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was NAPIC. Right. Yeah. Okay. So carry on.
NAPIC have nothing to do with NAPAC.
Right. Okay.
Just let the listeners know.
Yeah. So NAPAC is an organisation for supporting survivors and victims of abuse, yeah? Because that is one of the things I did want to cover tonight as well, is that, I mean, it's all very well us coming on here and highlighting the issues and asking people to join the dots and to bring any relevant information they may have to join the dots and to get campaigns and groups going around the country and around the world, but also victims and survivors of abuse need support. Because it is emotionally crippling and psychologically crippling, the kind of abuse that we're talking about. And
because
these people need support.
You're right. Because what you find, you go to the so-called professionals, and what you find all the time is that they label you, yes? They label you with personality disorder or stuff like that, you know what I mean? The worst thing in my situation is when I was crying out for help, they said that it was absolutely, well, they basically said it was crap that I was talking. You know what I mean? And
so instantly they shut you up and they stick some sort of a mental health label on you.
Oh, they didn't shut us up. That's what I'm saying. They didn't shut us up, and they'll never shut us up. You know what I mean? Because, like I say, in the year 2000, that's a pun. In the year 2000, what it was, the government set up an investigative body, the Parliamentary Select Committee, into police investigations into children's homes abuse. Yeah, you know what I mean. And there was over something like 240 investigations. You know, and my statement, 240 investigations. And every police force in the country had some sort of problem with care home sexual abuse. And incidentally, everybody, just to let you know, guess who was on that panel? David Cameron. David Cameron.
Thank you.
And Tom Watson.
Now Tom Watson, wasn't he the guy that asked the questions in the House of Parliament recently? Yeah. That is interesting.
Like I say, it's available. That Parliamentary Select Committee report is available on me on my webpage, which is The Quest for Justice: The Real Truth Behind Child Abuse. It's on there. You know what I mean? I think it's important. I think it's important that people actually read that. You know, it's got Operation
make sure that we've got your right web page, Brian, because I know you've got a Facebook page of the same name. Is that the one? Yeah. Okay, so it is. Repeat the name of it again, please, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just going now. It's The Quest for Justice: The Real Truth Behind Child Abuse.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So that's on Brian's.
And what it is on the Facebook page, it's more direct. It's more direct than anything else. Yeah. You know what I mean? It'll probably get shut down soon anyway. I was expecting it because I've been shut down 7 times over the last few years. Yeah. The previous page I had over 7,000 posts. You know.
Right, and have you got all of your information backed up in case you do get shut down, so that you can?
It's somebody's actually saving it every time.
Excellent. You know? Because I know Shiva lost an awful lot of her research and her own story. I'm not quite sure how that came about. It was one of the things I was going to ask her. But it's very important with this information now. We know that the powers that be are out to shut these sites down and to stop this information getting out.
Well, like I said, the biggest thing in the last few years with all these investigations is when they come out with the government, there's a paedophile, there's been a previous paedophile Prime Minister. Well, we all know who that is anyway, you know what I mean? But the fact is, I come back to the D notice as well. The D notice was set up by Tony Blair to stop all this information coming out. Yeah? What we need is the D notice was naming every single paedophile in Britain, you know? And then you had Operation O, Operation Cleopatra, you know, Operation Care, Operation Rose. And the thing is with Rose, which is my area, I don't want to go too much on about it, but the thing is with Operation Rose, even though they said it was only a 5-year investigation, it was literally a 7 to 10-year investigation. Now this investigation was to investigate all the other investigations in one. And what happened was there was two places set up, which was Pontail, and they had 2 rooms. One room where the information was going through in one room where there was certain information being let out to keep the public happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's at least five major paedophile rings in Britain. Yeah. And they're all run by the government. Yeah.
And the one thing.
Yeah. And the one thing.
Can I just make a point, Brian?
Yeah. Can I just say this, please? And the one thing with the paedophile parties, what the government was running, the money what was made by the paedophile parties was getting pushed back into the parliamentary purse. In other words, they were using the money what they were earning off sexually abusing the children, to actually go forward and campaign. Yeah, right. Surprising but true. And also the fact that what they were doing is when certain politicians from abroad, certain things like that, they were supplying the children, and what they were doing is the likes of MI5 and that were photographing these diplomats abusing the children. Yeah.
Yes.
And they were using these photos years later to get what they wanted politically. And indeed, it still goes on.
Yeah. I mean, this is how the powerful in government become the puppets of whoever wants to actually control what goes on politically. Is that they do compromise pictures.
That's right. I mean, ultimately, you think about it logically. Who holds the power in all this? Well, obviously, it's obvious who holds the power. The governments. Yeah, but I'm sick. But all I want is the public now to face up, because it's going to be their children next.
Yeah. Well, this is what I wanted to say about the D notices. You see, D notices are, for anybody that doesn't know, they're gagging orders that are imposed by the courts to prevent certain pieces of information getting out into the public arena. Now, the difference now that we are networking on the internet, I know that if any call came along and tried to slap a D notice on me, I would completely ignore it and release the information anyway. Mm-hmm. It's different in the mainstream media. They are controlled. We are not controlled, so we can speak freely. And we know that there may be consequences to bear for speaking out against a D notice.
Well, I do know that Cliff Richard and David Jason, viewers, David Jason of Only Fools and Horses are being tied in with the Elm House investigation.
Well, there's more and more being revealed all the time, isn't there? There's more names coming to light all the time. In the mainstream media,
there's names, obviously, Jimmy Savile, Lord Granville Jenner, Lord Kaufman, Leon Britton, Anthony Blair, Edward Heath, Lord Robinson, Lord Hardy, McAlpine, Portillo, Derek Lord, they're all coming out. Yeah. All these names, you know.
And just the fact that Jimmy Savile, who we know was abusing children for at least 50 years while he worked for the BBC, was best friends with Prince Charles and got an OBE from the Queen, was best friends with Margaret Thatcher. So we know that the links to paedophilia...
Yet again, I'm not boosting my own ego here. What I can't understand about that, I stood in Trafalgar Square 10 years ago and said about Jimmy Savile, right? I was even booed off. I was even booed off by survivors. Yeah, even survivors didn't believe it. Now, at the end of the day, the police knew. I told the police about all this, They wanted nothing to do with it. We could have saved some children.
Well, that's what we're doing now, I hope. I mean, just bringing all of this information to light. And people cannot deny the reality of what we're saying now.
It's going to become a civil war where we're going to have to go in and take our children back.
Well, we certainly need to shut down these so-called care homes, don't we, and get these children proper care. And one of the things that's actually happening at the moment on the back of all of this is that people who were abused in care historically who then go on to become parents. They're having their children taken off them and placed in care.
Yes, that's
because they're at risk of potential future abuse, emotional abuse.
Yeah, thank you.
Abuse.
Because that's what I found. That's what I found with the. I mean, they haven't with me, but as a survivor of abuse, or if you've been abused, obviously the governments look at the fact that you've been abused, and they'll say that you're capable of abusing, or 80% of the people what's been through the care system, they take your children off you.
Yeah.
So
automatically.
At the end of the day, and ultimately, what do you get at the end of that? You'll get money. So what they're doing is they're using the children to get money. They know exactly what they're doing.
It's a multi-billion-pound industry, the care industry, and social services.
What I'm scared of is the fact that even though I'm the first of my generation, right? There's another generation, and there's another generation. But what you're going to have in 20 years, you're going to have the fact like all the children what's being taken under foster and adoption.
That's
exactly.
And that's what we've got to stop.
And it's not just about money either. In fact, a lot of this is done, particularly with all the VIPs and so on, in order to control them so that they can photograph them in compromising situations, and then that they've got a stick that they can hold over them and say, you do exactly what we tell you to do, otherwise all of this gets released.
That's paedophiles in power. And so, well, let's try and. I mean, we have to highlight the issues and the extent of this problem. We've been talking about what's actually going on throughout Britain, but the fact is that government ties and diplomatic ties to Amsterdam are known. It's known that child trafficking happens within these quarters. Thousands and thousands of children vanish every year from the care.
The Amsterdam one, was that the Do Trucks case?
Say again?
The Amsterdam one, was that the Do Trucks case?
I'm not sure.
That was Belgium.
Sorry, I do apologise. Yeah.
That's all right.
I'll stop interrupting after.
That's all right. What was I saying? I was talking about the international child smuggling. The numbers of children that disappear from care, so-called care, every year in this country is in the thousands, and many of them disappear without trace, never to be seen or heard of again. Many local authorities don't even keep records of the amount of children that disappear.
This is what Sonia was saying. This is what Sonia Polton, by the way, listeners. Sonia Polton's an excellent reporter, and she's the only one what I would trust. And she was saying that on a thing that she's done over the internet today. She contacted every authority in the country to see if they were aware of how many children who had actually disappeared from their care system. And out of all the authorities, there was only 2 authorities what come up with any statistics.
Yeah, of any reliable kind of nature.
I heard a statistic from America, actually, and if I remember correctly, it was in the hundreds of thousands per year.
Oh, my first sort of insight into any of this kind of institutional child abuse was I watched a film many years ago called Boys Town, which was about a boys' home in America.
I did have some. I did help a couple of survivors from Boys Town. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, good. So we know that there are governments right around the world that are participating in this, and the only way to actually stop it is for people to talk freely about it and openly about it.
I think now people are talking about it now, because I do find from the 80s to now that people are beginning. There's a new. There's a new feeling in the world, you know, that they're finally beginning to realise our children are our future, you know. I don't have to state that, it's obvious, you know. And our children are Mother Nature itself, and nobody has the right to hurt them, you know.
Exactly, and we know what it's like to actually go through that abuse, and we have to stop it happening. We have to stop it happening. There are babies that are being raped by these people.
Yeah.
Not to put too fine point on it, they are being raped.
And unfortunately, unfortunately, public. I'm saying, unfortunately, public. Whether you like it or not, you're going to get to know about what's happening. It's like when I've campaigned in the town and that in Sunderland, people's gone, we don't want to know. But at the end of the day, people are going to get to know because they've got to know, whether they like it or not. It's got to be more direct now. It's not so much the softly approach now. It's got to be direct.
Yeah, that's the only way we stop it is by shining a light on it and saying, look what's happening there. Have we just lost someone on the call? Right.
We're actually, Jabba is calling from Switzerland. So,
excellent. I actually forgot to say at the top of the show that we will be opening the lines for questions and callers.
Like I say, if anybody wants to ask me any questions, no matter how direct they are, it's after 9 o'clock, no matter how direct they are, even if it's about the abuse I suffered myself, I'm quite willing to do that. People will say to me, well, you're a very, very brave person. It doesn't matter whether I'm brave or whether I'm not brave. It's about the children. And at the end of the day, if I can do anything to help the children, I will. It's simple as.
Yeah.
Anybody would do it.
Okay. All right. Brilliant. So is Jabba on the line now?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. All right, then.
If
anyone would like to phone in or contribute anything to the show, you can actually call from a landline on... internationally, it's 0044 161 298 0298. If you're in the UK, it's 0161 298 0298. Or you can add Bob's Backyard to Skype and chat to us there. You can also put any questions into the chat box, which is, what's the Darkcity chat channel thing, babe?
It's on the website. So if you go to darkcityradio.com/live.html, you'll see on the web page there, there's a link that will get you into the chat.
And we'll get one of the team to keep an eye on the chat and make sure we don't miss any questions that go in. Right, okay, where were we, Brian?
Actually, I've lost myself there. I don't know. Can anybody remind us on? I'm completely gone a blank. I do apologise.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm the host. I'm supposed to remember this stuff.
Yeah, well, like I say, over the last few years, I think. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but the public needs to know. I mean, over the last few years, especially with institutionalised abuse, I think it's not a case of what's the biggest and what's not the biggest. It's the fact that I have spoken to people in North Wales, right? Whenever there's paedophilia within children's homes, the press and everything always goes into North Wales, yeah. Well, North Wales don't want an inquiry into North Wales. What they want, they're looking for an international inquiry.
Well, this is the thing. The powers that be try to deflect and minimise the focus, really, of the problem, and so they keep throwing the focus on North Wales. But yes, survivors in North Wales know that this is an international problem. It's massive in scope. Right, I know that Jabba's called in. We've got him on the line now.
Hi,
Jabba. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes,
Perfect.
Loud and clear, honey.
Very good show. It's very important to talk about these things. I just want to add a little thing. The source of the pedophilia is, in my view, a harvest of energy. In the ancient time, we had they sacrificed the virgin, and the virgin represent the child under the property, and that is a long time thing they do really harvest the energy, because the child have a pure energy before the puberty.
Like I said, Jabba, this is where the satanic side comes in, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, for listeners, for those who don't know, I was actually satanically abused as well. And Jabba, I totally agree with Jabba there, because obviously it wasn't about the blood sacrifice. It was also, I mean, this might sound weird to some. This did happen, and I know people find it hard to believe that satanic rituals do go on, but they do go on, you know. And some people say that the satanic side's just a cover up for the paedophilia. No, it's not. I know, because I've been there, you know. And they do, and Jabba's correct. They do prey on the energy, because as a child you're innocent. As a child you've got innocent energy, and what they do is they actually suck that energy up. Back to you, Jabba. Sorry, mate.
No problem. That's very correct. And also, if the people want to search a little bit about black magic, it is very simple. Black magic returns everything in reverse. So if you think they are lying on the TV, they're making magic. Everything is magic. It's like law is magic, and the media is magic.
Without good, you wouldn't have evil. Without evil, you wouldn't have good.
Yeah. And that is very important also in the history, when we see that they say that something is bad in some way, you almost can be sure that it is like the reverse part. And that is how I look at the medias and at the news today. If they pull up somebody like Obama get the Peace Prize, that is completely reversed, and everybody know that. And that is a part of that whole satanic. And the satanic is not like that they make it in the cave with some stupid rituals. That is happening in public, and more obvious it is.
Well, that's what
bigger the lie, less the people see it.
Yeah, that's what Leon Britain was. I mean, to them what knows who have discussed my situation. Yeah, Leon Britain is satanic. Now to become there's another thing with MI5 and with MI5 and the security services. Yeah, you've got to be satanic to be because everything is dark. Everything in Britain is based on the satanic side, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the aspects of all this, which relates to satanic ritual abuse, which is very real and has been experienced by far too many thousands of children around the world, is the members of government and the elite, if you like, the oligarch. They're all members of various secret societies as well. And these secret societies have secrets, and they have secret rituals. And another aspect as well is, even where satanic abuse isn't being practiced, and where it's just, for want of a better term, straightforward abuse of children, it's known by the powers that be that damaged children make damaged adults, and damaged adults are effective in challenging the powers that be. So it's all designed to maintain their position at the top of the pyramid, if you like. Well,
I believe when I was satanically abused, it was all about the scaring of the child. But as some of the campaigners and some of the close friends I have, know about my bloodline. You know, my bloodline goes back a long way, and it's linked into a lot of things, you know. And I mean, some people say, well, what's your bloodline got to do with being in care? Because when I was in care, I believe, it sounds far-fetched, but I believe they were looking for a certain bloodline anyway. You know what I mean?
And well, I do know that they seek out certain blood types at the very least.
I mean, the home that I was in was originally called Witherwack ICT, which is ITU, which was individual treatment unit. Now, at the end of the day, that is a very odd name, you know. And it was all about behavioural modification as well.
Oh,
you know?
God! So basically, terrifying you as much as possible in every way possible.
But the trouble is, they got us just as much as I got, you know, Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, viewers, I mean, I had to show them that I wasn't scared of them, it was survival, you know. So I picked up a block of wood and just smashed it across the head. I'm not a violent person, but at that time it was about survival, you know. But I believe that kept us in longer. The kept us in longer is because of the fact of what I was witnessing and what I seen, you know. So much so that my statements were used in the Parliamentary Select Committee anyway.
I just want to ask, is Jabba still there? And is there anything else you want to add, my love?
Yeah, just another little thing about pedophilia is kids who are abused in their young age. That is a reality for them, and that is very important to know that they're going to repeat that, because that they see life and how the relationship between people work is pedophilia. And that means they have to repeat it. And that is the very important part, as the people
Mind you, saying that, Jabba, I was, as you know, you might know, I was raped at 7 and 8, but I didn't go out and rape. Go out and rape anybody.
If you know how to break the chain, but I just know also from people around me that I don't say a generality, and I hope the people can break the chain. But if it is too much, they're gonna repeat it because they see it as a reality. As that, even if I had even somebody around, and we was talking with him, and for him that stayed reality. But it also depends how much he get protected, or he get explained that it was not good in maybe as a certain age. If the people never experience that is reality for them. And I don't accuse or I judge somebody. That is very, very important, even if somebody is listening to it.
And this is what the government's doing. I mean, they brought the aspect of sexual abuse. They brought the aspects of sexual education into primary school. You know, so naturally, in the papers a couple of weeks ago, be aware a lot of the children are acting out sexual fantasies and that. You know. Because ultimately, what the New World Order want is paedophilia to be accepted.
Yes,
definitely.
they do.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that they are actually doing and have done for many, many years, which relates directly to what you were saying, Jabba, is when children grow up and eventually leave the care system, they are recruited, they are hung on to by those that have abused them, and then used to recruit other people. So it can be really, really difficult for them to break away. And even some children that have been rescued from abusive situations in care have then been kidnapped back by the same paedophile groups and basically kept and used to recruit other children themselves. So,
I mean,
they also get like a relationship to that. It is like the ones who get kidnapped, they get a certain relationship, and that is like even if they get abused, they still search, because that was the people who was around them. And we also have to know that often is like the abusing part is only a part of it. That is like the people who are around also can happen. I mean, some of them, the situations are always different, but some of them is over long years, and that is like also the ones you share secrets and stuff, you know, and that can give a certain relationship that you even search further, and the way is so hidden, and they mostly never talk about it. It stays somewhere, and that is but it's like everything what happened in your life, you just have to break the chain.
Yeah, and I will breaking that chain happens when it's highlighted as an issue. Because, as you say, Jabba, a child can grow up with all kinds of abuses happening to that child on a regular basis. And that's all that they know. That's what they think that the world is. And it's not until somebody comes along and says, you know, what's happening to you is wrong. It's not your fault, and you are in no way responsible for it, but it is a wrong thing, and you've been hurt, and you know, puts it like that. That's what breaks the chain. Yeah. I was going to go somewhere else, but I've gone blank. Brian, you got anything, babe?
Yeah, like I say, it's the satanic abuse as well. I mean, like I said, long time ago, I come across an organisation. Indeed, yourself, Jabba, might have heard of it because you sound very aware. You sound very adapted with the black magic side of things. Was an organisation called Maranatha. I don't know if Maranatha was a religious group where a lot of sexual abuse was going on, but it was actually an organisation what was taking the children out of the care system and abusing them, you know.
Where was that?
Rochdale.
UK?
Yeah, the UK, yeah.
Okay, no, I didn't hear that.
You know?
Heard of it.
Yeah,
but it is like this. It is like the Savile story. I mean, the guy had access to hospitals and was supported by guys who are even still today in the government. Yeah, and that is the huge part where the people have to understand that it is like something that is still around and so much around and so much hidden and so much protected, and that is the real big issue.
And the care system in this country is as shambolic as ever it was. And that's by design. It's so the children can't be protected and rescued from this stuff. There's no... Even, you know, those people working in child protection and within the care industry that are good people that actually want to provide real care for the children in their care, are prevented from doing so just by the shambolic nature of the organisations themselves. Even the key worker system, I've not read an awful lot about it, but the key worker system is supposed to put a particular individual to care for the key needs of a group of children. Yeah,
that's interesting. That's interesting you say that about the staff within the system who actually care and that, because there was an incident where, sorry to go on, but it's just a mention, that during the Operation Rose case, that there was a former director of Sunderland Social Services called Colin Smart, what was wanting to come forward because he had 47 files of all the paedophile rings what was running within the child care system. Colin was second in line of all social services directors, which was a very, very powerful man. And he also wrote the Victoria Columbia case long before Baby P. Now, what happened is they issued him with the High Court injunction to stop him opening his mouth. Now, amongst these 73 files was a number of government officials. What was coming out today. Now, the actual High Court injunction was the first of its kind. You know, and that High Court injunction is now used in all the cases of whistleblowers. You know,
well, the same thing happened in Islington when social workers began to become aware of the abuse that was taking place in their ward and to report it. I think it was Virginia Bottomley, although I'm not positive. I do get confused about these people. I think it was Virginia Bottomley who was head of the council in Islington at that time, and just smothered the investigation entirely. And years later, she was actually made the children's minister in government. She was children's minister.
Incidentally, listeners, with the Islington case, what we do need to get hold of, and this is for the benefit of the children, nothing else, we need to get hold of a report called the Ian White report. Yes. What it was, Ian White was a social services director. He was told to go in to investigate the place. Now, I've read the internal report. Now, on the internal report, it was actually said that Islington Social Services was being run by paedophiles. Now, incidentally, Islington Social Services is the overall social services, in other words, that Islington Social Services is the ones in charge of all social services, yeah. And what happened was Ian White had come across this, and what happened was the people what were running Islington Social Services were actually paedophiles, and they were sending other paedophiles out into different areas, and these are the areas where all the abuse took place.
Yeah.
Brian, we're just coming up to the hour now, so what we're going to do is stick a tune on and just have a little break, and then we'll be back with the rest of the show after that tune.
Yeah, I would like to talk to a bit more to the guest what's come on.
To Jabba, yeah. Jabba, you still around?
I'm still there.
Stay in the call for the break.
I will stay there.
We'll just have a jingle and a tune, and we'll be back again.
Perfect.
See you soon, folks. And welcome back, everybody, to the second hour of this Darkcity special. The subject of tonight's discussion is institutional child sexual abuse. We're highlighting the new Join the Dots on child abuse website and campaign to bring all of the various campaigns and voices together under one umbrella to bring all of the information together that has been buried over the years under one umbrella and to paint a big picture of what is actually happening in this country and abroad as we speak, and what has been happening for decades, if not centuries, I dare say, but within the current system, the current child protection so-called system. We've got Brian Clare, who grew up in care himself and was ritually satanically abused by very high-profile members of the Thatcher government. And we've also been joined by Jabba of Be Decoded website, who was himself ritualistically abused. And during the break, we had a brief conversation. And I know that Brian wants to highlight the issues around satanic ritual abuse because, I mean, child sexual abuse itself is a taboo subject. And if that is a taboo subject, then satanic ritual abuse is even more so, and there are so very few voices that are speaking about their experiences. Jabba and Brian actually want to have that conversation now about their own experiences, which I cannot thank them enough for. I do want to emphasise, though, that although the subject is a dark one and it's a very difficult topic for people to talk about and to hear about, it's also very real. But the fact is, it's in talking about these things that we shine a light. We highlight what's going on right now, and so through that process we can bring it to an end. And also from my own experiences of being abused by a family member, I know that it is possible to heal from those experiences because I have done so. And so I just want to make sure that that's at the forefront of people's minds as we move on with this discussion. And so, Jabba, I'm not quite sure how to ask the question, but maybe you can start by just describing some of your experiences yourself.
Yeah, maybe I expressed myself wrong. I myself was not abused, but I grew up in a school where this kind of things happen. And I also had one of my best friend who lived even here around me. He was actually very much abused, and I also saw that he could not get out of it, and that was, of course, for me was impossible to be around him, and we tried to explain him. For him, it was impossible. He even kept the contact with the guy who abused him for years, and of course he knew that we didn't agree with that, so he make it like behind. But after a certain while, And also when I get kids, I had to tell him that this was it was not because of that we are separate the contact, but because of other reasons. But for me, it was impossible that to have a person like that around who I knew it was, even because when we made parties and stuff, I saw how he had the eye on him, and for him that was the reality, and that is a very sad reality. And also, if you don't break the chain, that is the most hardest. And I have to say, you both respect to talk out about these kind of things, because that helps a lot of other people who experience this kind of crap and of energy harvesting. And one important thing is for the people, if they want to listen such kind of shows, or if they want to investigate about this kind of things, I suggest them to turn off the emotions. That is very important, because emotions make that we cannot look further. It makes pain, it makes sadness, it makes like you really have to turn off your emotions, and that's why I could really investigate in this kind of things, because it didn't touch me. It didn't touch me in my research. That was the same for a lot of wars that I investigate, and I count dead people one by one. And that you can't do if you don't turn off your emotions. And that is a very important part to talk about these things. And the other part is that, like you said, we have to put light on it and put tell the people what is really going on. And Brian want to talk about all the satanic rituals that is going on, and it is so much that we don't see it anymore. If the people really are new in satanic rituals, I don't even know where they should start to look at it. But if you know a little bit about satanic rituals, there is all over. It is all over. When you see Beyoncé making her show in the middle of that, what was that, Super Bowl? That was a satanic ritual, but you cannot make it more obvious than that. And the big issue is it comes always more and more obvious. What do you think, Brian?
Well, they're right out in the open now, displaying the ritualistic nature of their culture, if you like. And yes, it's very much in the mainstream. It's in disguise and surrounded by smoke and mirrors. But you're quite right. That's exactly what we do see on the mainstream. Should we tune in, Brian?
There is incidents where children's bodies. I'm sorry, it's got to be said. There is incidents where there's children's bodies buried on a number of grounds around the country because of being satanically abused from the care system. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you know, and
Bill Maloney. Sorry, I was just going to talk about Bill Maloney's work and the film that he made called Sun, Sea and Satan.
Sun, Sea and Satan, yep. Yeah, I personally recommend that. It's available on YouTube free anywhere, Sun, Sea and Satan.
And also another very good documentary by Bill Maloney is Adam Rickwood and the Medicine Heroes.
Yeah, Adam Rickwood and the Medicine Heroes is very good.
And they're both available free on YouTube. But for Sun, Sea and Satan, Bill Maloney went over to Jersey to investigate what had been happening at the Hope de la Grange Children's Home. And there was very definite evidence of ritualistic sexual abuse happening there. And we know that if it's happening in Jersey, it's not confined only to the island of Jersey. It does happen elsewhere. We know that Brian himself experienced satanic ritual abuse whilst in care. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Brian, about your experiences.
Not really, because my time's been, and not really. Okay. I mean, what I couldn't understand is what I couldn't understand is out of the thousands and thousands of children in the care system, why me, you know?
Yeah.
There was more than me, you know. So when they're particularly picking certain children to be abused, you know, there's something in that, you know. It's obvious, you know.
We maybe sorry.
Go on, Jabba.
Well, also what we talk about is the result. Sadly to say, this is the result, what is happening. But we always, when it's a result, there is a source. And the main source of all that, I will say, it is religion. Religion are based on satanic rituals.
Yeah.
If you drink blood and you eat human flesh, this is not something I would say really what the people would say Catholic. This is full satanic rituals. If you see the symbols the church is using, all that harvest, even the Pope have a ring that calls a ring of fisherman, and it's not the fisherman who go take the fish, it is the one who fish the man. They are fishing the souls of the people. And that is the source of that whole satanic thing. It is 180 degrees reversed. And that is everything what is 180 degrees reversed is satanic rituals. And it is so much that the people don't see it anymore. And so many people are participating in satanic ritual without knowing. If you want to also see like one of the most obvious, it is the first, I'm not sure, the first or the second anniversary of the 9/11. They make, it's on YouTube, you see they make like a circle around like a fire. But if you see the circle around the fire is not a circle, but it is an eye. You can see it from the chapter, you can see it is an eye. And it's fully satanic rituals when they make this kind of stuff. Even if you see the grave, just another thing, it is like the invasion of America in France. There is a full movie out also about that. I don't remember the name, but it is the 6th of 6 and 6 o'clock in the evening. That is when they invade France, and it's everywhere. It's all around. If you see like the different symbols, even the Pope have clothes with a devil on his shoulder. It is so obvious that the people
I've seen that photograph where they took the photograph of the new Pope, and in the corner there's actually a shadow of the devil.
Yeah, but that was Photoshop. This one was Photoshop.
Yes, it was. And you're quite right, Jabba. I was thinking not so long ago about, I used to go to Sunday school when I was a child, and there was a verse, I will make you fishers of men. And it was kind of going through my mind a few months ago. What a strange thing to say, I will make you fishers of men. So you're quite right, they are literally fishers of men. They capture the soul. We've been joined by Jamie of Join the Dots website, which is absolutely cool. Jamie, we've been trying to get hold of you for a few days. We heard that you've not been very, very well. Sorry. Myself coming back. Welcome to the show. I'm really glad you joined us.
No problem. Nice to join you all and join a good friend in Brian.
Hi, Jamie. Yes. How you doing, mate? Good to see you.
Mate. Okay. Yeah.
Can I just say, listeners, that I'm working very closely with Jamie, and Jamie is somebody that I trust, and I would trust with my left arm. This man is committed. This man is committed so much to the children that it actually brings me to tears. If there was a younger version, if there was a prodigy of mine, I would safely say Jamie. It's a man who I trust. Anyway, back to you, Jamie.
Well, thanks. You always make me blush, Brian.
No, it's just
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you. Nice to be here. Yeah, sorry I've not been in touch. I've had to have a few days off. It gets heavy sometimes, and doing this sort of day in, day out. Sometimes not sleeping. I'll do whole days sometimes and not sleep for a couple of days, and it can take it out of me. And of course, the subject matter really is it's heavy, and it can wear anybody down.
Okay, well, that's perfectly all right. I mean, you're here now anyway, which is a lovely surprise. Well, maybe because I've been trying to describe, well, myself and Brian have been describing the work of Join the Dots and what the aims of Join the Dots are. So maybe you can tell us something about how Join the Dots came about and where you're up to now and what the future holds and that sort of thing, if that's all right.
Okay, yeah, I caught a little bit of that, and yeah, you're spot on. The sort of overall idea is, yes, to be a kind of a unifying group. It came about through, I've researched and been reading about this for years and years. I live in Wrexham. I come from Wrexham in North Wales, where unfortunately it's a town that has the spectre of abuse hanging over it very, very heavily, and it's never gone away. All through my youth, there was these buildings around, and it was all hush hush. We're not supposed to talk about the child abuse, really, and it was just something I knew that was going on, and couldn't let it just happen and let it just people forget about it and just shrug. So I've been reading and researching for a long time, and sort of came to the campaigning side of things through Facebook and through meeting other like-minded people who wanted to do something and were just fed up of nothing and cover-ups and investigations where good policemen get moved on and so on. So it was sort of last year I was pushing to do something in Wrexham demonstration-wise and started speaking to people and wasn't really getting anywhere on my own. And then Shiva, who I think you were trying to get on today, Shiva came along, and a respected campaigner with a lot of sort of experience under her belt, and we clicked and realised that this is the way we can do things, and we can work very well together. And a few other people around us as well, Rose and a few others helping out, and it just kind of went from there. And we're kind of at now, as you know, we're planning the demonstration Wrexham 21st of April.
21st, I did get the date wrong. Thank you, Jamie.
No problem. Yeah, Sunday the 21st, I've had... I don't know whether I should really talk about some of the council and police meetings I've had recently on air, but it's been, let's just say, I feel like I'm not being helped by them.
Do speak freely. Feel free to speak about anything you feel free to speak about. We don't censor on this station, so... Well,
all I'll say at this stage is just that I've had a meeting with the police and the council about it, and I don't know whether they will end up hearing or not, but I felt like it was... I felt like obstacles were being put in my way, shall we say. I didn't... but, we kind of... I was having a meeting with the people I'm going to be protesting before. It was an unusual situation, shall we say.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's only natural that the North Wales Police don't want this to go ahead, So, in other words, it has to go ahead.
Oh, I think
in other words, it is going ahead.
It'll happen one way or the other. There's no way they're stopping it. But it wasn't helpful. Some of the things that they were sort of asking to do, and we'll see how it goes, because I've got a lot more work to do on it and a lot of people to speak to. But it's something will happen. Of course it will. They're not gonna tie me up in red tape. Put it that way.
And they can't stop hundreds and thousands of people from turning up on Wrexham on the 21st of April. If those people choose to turn up in Wrexham on the 21st.
They're all private individuals, exactly. They're all individuals who can do whatever they please.
Exactly. So, that might be a nice day out.
Well, it's quite close to where we are. It's not... it's not so far to go, really.
No, it's only half an hour away from here, babe.
Incidentally, that might be the day that I'm releasing a certain number of documents, which are quite heavy.
Okay.
Well, I hope those documents are somewhere safe where they can't be got at before then.
They're not in this country, put it this way.
Yes, good man. You see, this is the thing, we cannot be stopped. We are a bunch of individuals acting on our own volition. We are intelligent, we are capable, we are sentient, we are whole, we are impassioned, we are empowered, and we are healed, and we will not be stopped. So there you go.
one thing I always think about that and say about that from the sort of angle of it applies to the sort of research and campaigning as well, but it comes from the sort of hacking angle that nothing is unhackable and nothing is secure, because they've got people who work 9-to-5 jobs and are there for the money. We've got people who are doing it with thousands of people all over the planet who are doing it for the right reasons. They're not doing it for a wage packet. They don't clock off at 5 o'clock. We carry on, and they just haven't got the we've won on logistics already, if you know what I mean. We've already done it. We've already got all the backing we need. We just need to carry it through.
Yeah, and to coordinate our activities as well with each other. Which I think is one of the main aspects of Join the Dots, is
Absolutely.
it not?
That's our aim. Absolutely, that's the aim, to kind of bring groups that wouldn't normally associate, but they're all, campaigning against child abuse. But, we have the LGBT sort of angles, and the people who come from the ex-care homes, and all these groups that might not necessarily cross paths, or may even have a little bit of overlap, or even in some cases they kind of don't like each other. Forget all that is our message. Forget all that. The most important thing here is timing. With the time is right as well. That's another important part of Join the Dots. I think the timing is absolutely spot on at the moment. With the Savile sort of mess that happened, I think now is the time that people are genuinely listening to all us conspiracy weirdos, that there is something going on. There is more to the Savile story than meets the eye. Much, much more.
Well, the death of Margaret Thatcher yesterday, I'm quite sure many floodgates will open on the back of that particular death as well.
I hope so.
So the timing could not be better, really.
Absolutely. I think that's why they're running scared, and I think that's why it's been a funny sort of situation, as I said, with this meeting with the police and the council. They published something, well, they didn't publish, the local rag published something the day before I had the meeting with them, which kind of goes, that says, council are backing it, they fully support new abuse probes, and I didn't see this report until the afternoon I got back from the meeting. So my head was just, hang on, I've just spent an hour with them, and they've just been... they made all the right noises of being helpful, but the undercurrent was very unhelpful. And then I get home and read this in the paper that, yes, we support this, and here's the Join the Dots protest, blah, blah, blah. It's just... confused is not the word, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, it is unrelated, but, all the bedroom tax protests that have been going on around the country recently, and you've got the Labour Party who have, if not actively supported, have not objected to these welfare reforms, going along to the protests and basically stealing all the energy, if you like.
It's funny you should mention that, actually. The Wrexham bedroom tax protest was organised by the Labour Party, and also I was told on the day, because I went, obviously, I was told by I think she was a Labour Party campaigner, she said, you've only had a week to organise this, and a little alarm bell went in my head. Oh, really? So you can organise a protest in Wrexham with a week's notice? That's interesting. And when I mentioned that at the meeting, oh no, we don't like that. Ideally, we'd like 6 months before to prepare for a protest. Oh, right. I see. Yeah. So the Labour Party can organise a bedroom tax protest within a week, but if you want to organise a protest about child abuse, we'd prefer it if you came 6 months in advance.
Well, I actually saw some footage, or some photographs rather, and read a blog about the Wrexham protest, bedroom tax protest, written by a friend of mine. Apparently, there was a handful of people there, if that, and there was no energy, there was no oomph behind it whatsoever.
Not at all.
So, obviously organised by politicians with a political agenda, huh?
Indeed.
Anyway, we digress, do we not?
Mm-hmm.
So beyond April, Jamie, what's on the cards for Join the Dots? Do we know yet, or are we just winging it? And...
there is plans for more protests. The idea is to keep building the momentum. Excuse me. The main sort of aim of the group is not to let people forget, not to let them sweep this under the carpet again, which they're already trying to do. We see, what's his name? I think it is, and a lot of commentators think so, that Peter Spindler being moved, given given a promotion off all three of the U3 and Fernbridge Fairbank investigations. To us, to me as an observer, as somebody of this for a long time, it just stinks of the same sort of thing that happened in Jersey with Lenny Harper, and Brian also knows of a similar case of a good copper just moved on straight away. You know, when he starts to uncover the right stuff and starts getting a bit too close to the big boys, that they get moved on. And we're not having this again. I think people also are now, the general public are primed not to forget this, and with our help, I think we can keep this on the news agenda. And yeah, we've been getting a little bit of interest off some of the big national papers and some of the bigger media organisations, but I just hope they've got the guts to stay with it and the guts to not let it drop off the agenda, because it's quite possibly the most important story of the last 100 or maybe even more. You know, it's got the potential to bring down the monarchy and the government, and that is what.
Well, I think one of the aspects of the investigations is that many of the documents get buried and hidden and disappear and vanish. But I know that within the various campaign groups, individuals such as Brian still have access to many of the much documented evidence of abuse that's happened over decades and centuries. And so if the police don't actually fully investigate, if those at the top are shuffled around and if cover-ups do ensue, then I think that it's actually up to the likes of us and the likes of yourself and Brian to simply publish that information anyway, and to join the dots, to connect all the pieces of the jigsaw and to lay it out there in the alternative media.
Well, that sort of goes back to what I was saying earlier about sort of that we've got more resources than they have. We've got, thousands, tens of thousands of people who are doing it for passion, not because they're being given a paycheck. And it is an enormous puzzle, and there are so many dots to join. You know, how today I've been chatting to somebody about how North Wales links in with Elm, the Elm Guesthouse scandal, and how that also links in with Holland, and how that links in with other places. And it's a huge puzzle, but it's sort of tip of the iceberg stuff. We can see bits and bobs here that you can link this family to that family and that family to that family, and it just needs a bit more sort of, well, I don't know about investigation or input, or I don't know what the right sort of phrase is. Yeah, exactly.
More pulling that information together. That's all, and then we've got the big picture. And that's it exposed. Now, whether there are repercussions, legal and lawful repercussions to the perpetrators of the abuse, just getting the information out there in the first place is a massive step forward. And keep the campaign going, keep the protests going, and keep shining a light and shouting exactly about it.
As I say, How can anything be more important than the children now, and the children who have been wronged? They need, and the children aren't here anymore. The kids who died in care and the kids who killed themselves because of what happened in care, they deserve justice, and we deserve it as people. We deserve not to be run by paedophiles. It really is that simple. I've said this to people so many times. Would you like to be governed by paedophiles? Of course not. So do something bloody about it.
Yes, because you are being governed.
You are. It really is that simple. The people running your country rape children. It can't be said any clearer than that.
Yeah.
It's also if we talk about a lie, it's always like about a lie. How much lies the people would accept in a friendship. How much lies you accept in a friendship? If there is a lie, you have a doubt, and the friendship is not the same. And that the people also have to understand that when it comes to trust to the government, it is the same. They all know that they are lying. Why should they not lie more? Or how big can the lie be if everybody know that they are already lying? That is the basic. If somebody really say no, this is not possible, blah 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 blah. This is an example to do. Another thing for the protests, very important for protests is that the people watch out for the ones who making trouble, because the ones who making trouble in protests are controlled policemen. And that is, I think, is the very important part, that the people, if they walk around and making protests, that they really have an eye on them, because they want to fuck up, that the people are saying, if it's this kind of protests, there's always violence, we have to forbid. And that is very important if people are participating to a protest. Another thing is, it is a very dark subject. And the most important of all, if somebody participates in something like that, is not creating more bad vibration.
Yeah.
That is, the people, even like Brian, I mean, that he can talk out today like that, he have to put himself in a positive state of mind. If he would like too negative all the time, he could not talk about it. And also, if the people discover this kind of things, it's very important that they just not say, this one, I'm going to kill him. That is just creating more and more and more and more tension. And the way it is, like I said before, the ones who get abused, they will abuse. I don't say this all the time, but they are always also victims. They also want to get out of something they don't really like. And that is also important part. As soon as, it have to be a forgiveness. But as soon as they know that it is not correct, and then it is a choice. As soon as they have misinformation, it is misinformation, and they are victims. But as soon as somebody know it, it is a choice, and then he do the wrong choice. And that's why it's very important to give it out too.
I've heard of things of people. Sorry, go on. Go on.
I was just going to mention, sorry, Jamie, what Jabba was just saying about protests not being negative, really, and not allowing violence to ensue and all that sort of stuff. I know that one of Shiva's big things on rallies that she's organised in the past has been to get victims and survivors of abuse to come forward themselves and tell their stories in all kinds of creative ways, through poetry and art and music and dance, and just standing and telling their story.
That's something we wanted to do.
Creative and healing thing. Sorry, go on, Jamie.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to keep it light, because it is such a dark subject. Obviously, not too light, so as you take the impact out of it. But you can't just we can't do something in the middle of a town that's just 2 hours of kind of abuse. What's the right words? Accounts. It needs to. Because unfortunately, it pushes people away. It's a very dark subject, and it's very hard, and a lot of people have trouble comprehending the depths of depravity that's involved. So it kind of pushes them away, and it's a tough line to walk, and I imagine we're going to sort of find our feet as we go. But again, I don't think there's a hard and fast rule for it, but there's got to be some kind of balance between the accounts and some creativity, some art, some light, some joy, because there's so many victims/survivors I meet who are empowered now and who are healing themselves, and they've done it through art, through creativity, through music. And if we can keep that kind of spirit and bring that to the fore, then it's unstoppable. I think it really is. Sorry, go on.
Right. One of the main things from my own journey of healing was the utter joy that I felt and still feel of having been able to let all that pain and anger and negativity go. That just leaves joy behind and love behind, and to know that a person can go through that. And through all that darkness and come out the other side, to be capable of coming out of the other side of that is an absolute celebration.
Absolutely.
There is no two ways about it.
And do you know, as a man, I've had a lot of relationships with women who've been very damaged. And probably because they've had similar experiences to Carly. And one of the most amazing things is to meet someone who's healed, and just the contrast in how someone is able to love and to relax around you and all that kind of thing is just utterly mind-blowing. It's incredible.
Babe. Right, where do we take it from there? We've still got 20 minutes of the show. Any suggestions, anyone?
I'm trying to think of. Is there any?
I would like to suggest. I'd like to suggest if anybody is involved with anything, like say on Nutri and they want information on it, or say Operation Rose and want information on it, and try and get in touch, because I mean my area is actually research, and I'll try and get as much information as possible. So if you can get in touch through the website, through the Facebook page again, which I've completely forgot what it's called now.
The Quest for Justice one.
The Quest for Justice, the real truth behind child abuse. I'll do my best and get you the information,
Brian's an encyclopedia, anybody listening, he really is.
On the same tone as well, if anyone listening has any disclosures that they would like to come forward with as well, if you've got a story that you need to tell, if you've got information about paedophiles in power or paedophiles in children's homes, your own experiences, then also, contact Brian, contact Jamie or Shiva through Join the Dots, contact myself through Darkcity Radio or through my my Facebook, which is Kaz Travelling Like Lucas, a previous name. I'm Carly now. I used to be Kaz. A little bit confusing, but contact any of us through by any means.
Sorry, one thing I will say about it, that if you do contact us, by all means, that's brilliant. But one thing that Join the Dots is one of our main sort of roles and focuses that we want to do is survivor support as well. Because so many times I hear, basically every survivor, a victim I have met, has said to me, the aftercare is just gone. There's nothing. There's no, or if there is aftercare, it's inadequate, and the doctors they're seeing are useless and are not listening and not taking in the information properly. So that's something that we feel very strongly about, and we would like to eventually build Join the Dots to be a sort of a charity that supports survivors with whatever they need. Basically, we don't want to restrict ourselves to saying we will give counselling, we will give this.
Yeah, and I must say you as survivors, I'm saying you because I'm a survivor myself, obviously, you as survivors, you what matter, not the doctors, not the counsellors, not what they say you are. At the end of the day, it's you what matters. You are the survivor. You are the one what matters. Nobody else. You're the voice and you're yourself, yeah? And I personally will always be there on the outside, yeah? I mean, at the end of the day, I've done this for 30 years. I've done this for 30 years. If I can do this, you can do this as well.
Well said,
I noticed there's a quite a comment in the chat from Suki in IRC chat saying joining the right dots is the key. Unfortunately, the so-called truth community peddles so much conspiracy rubbish that it's alienated the middle classes who you need on your side. Talking about satanic abuse is a bit far out. They're just the abuse. Learn from the Holly Greig scandal, which has now been proven not to be true. It was a hoax, perpetuated a lie. Well, I'm not absolutely convinced that the Holly stuff is a lie. Perhaps there may be aspects of it that don't hold together. And as far as satanic ritual abuse goes, well, actually, there's a great deal of evidence, and I'm talking coming from
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Please do.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, to that person, I can understand where you're coming from. Yeah, the person must put that in the books. Yeah, but at the same time, considering I made this statement in 1986 to now, and that statement's now turned up, and North Wales Police are investigating that. If that person was getting at me, I have never lied once in anything that I've done, and satanic abuse does exist. The fact that you don't I'm not being impudent here. It's the fact that that person what's put it in the box isn't aware of it. That's all.
Yes. Yeah.
And
It's
the fact that you need educating.
Well, as well, it's also that the people who were pushing that there is no satanic ritual abuse, was it particularly the False Memory Foundation, I think they were called, False Memory Syndrome Foundation, were funded by the Rockefellers.
Incidentally, the ones what were running it were paedophiles.
Exactly. Yeah,
and I can give you the real background on that. There was a woman in Canada who started a course in psychoanalysis. And as soon as she began her training in psychoanalysis, her parents, who'd been abusing her, set up the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. And they did it in order to cover up for their own abuse. Now, this is something I've known about for many years as a psychologist. It was something that I came across because my specialization also was psychoanalysis. So you've got to be very careful, about jumping to conclusions and so on. There's a lot more information than most people are likely to just come across in casual researching.
And also, one of the things that we've been repeating over and over tonight is that the taboo that surrounds tulips is even more apparent when it comes to satanic ritual abuse, and giving people the opportunity to talk about their very real experiences regarding satanic ritual abuse is essential to their healing and to stopping that abuse from continuing today or tomorrow. So it might not be attractive to the middle classes, but it is essential that we highlight all of the aspects.
And it's essential that survivors from satanic abuse are believed as well.
Yes, it is. And as unpleasant as that might be, and off-putting as it might be for the more sensitive amongst us, I guess, makes it nonetheless real. And we have to address the real issue.
It is certainly very difficult to believe when you first come across it. You have to remember that the way satanic and ritual abuse is carried out is designed to fracture the personality, to create what's called alters. What happens when your severe abuse is imposed on you is that children tend to go off perhaps into a picture on the wall, and their imagination goes off, and they're not there in their body at all. Their mind has gone off, and they've become someone else in a story, in a picture. And if you it's not even a case of them being scared to tell people. Part of the time their personality is so fractured that they can't even address or face what's happened to them. So
even now, for my own part, I have there are instances of my childhood that I know are missing. I can remember the beginning, and then I can remember a couple of days later, but I can't remember what actually happened. I just remember what was about to happen,
I remember everything what happened to me, everything, even down to the minute detail, because it's etched as a fear. It's etched into your brain, and you never forget. I can even remember the registration number of the van, what took us. What took us to be abused, and at the end of the day, that's what the police were amazed by. Little things, like that.
It's a double-edged sword, though. That, Brian, obviously, it's good in a way, but also absolutely, horrific for you, my friend. But
like I say, I mean, as you can see, I'm more. How can you put it? I'm more like calmer now, I'm more calmer now because I know we're hitting places and I know we're doing things, And then obviously when I met yourself, Jamie, it's like when I was speaking to you and that, and I thought to myself, my God, there's a younger prodigy of me, you know what I mean? I know it might sound yet again as if I've got this big-headed thing, this big-headed thing about us, But considering I've been about 30 years and everything that I've ever said is now coming true, you know, and I can back that up because I've got the stuff here, you know, and that's why I have the credibility as I do, because as a campaigner, if once that you lie, that credibility's gone.
Yep.
You know, I mean, in the beginning with me, like when I first went to the police and the police didn't believe us, you know, and then I worked with the Sun and Echo, like for the next 5 years to get everybody together and that. It was all a learning experience, you know. And this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying with the satanic abuse side and that, you know. The public are not aware of it. They can't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Can I say something?
Go on, please.
Please do, Jabba.
I think there is definitely something between the pedophile and the satanic rituals. And some people, it always depends to who you talk about what. And I think pedophiles, people are knowing already a little bit more about it. When it comes to satanic rituals, they are just, the devil don't exist, blah, blah. And of course it don't exist, but the energy they're harvesting is existing big time. Yes. And I think it is important to talk about both. But it is important.
Satanic abuse is not just about the sexualization of the children.
No, it is part of our life, definitely. And I think the ones who say that satanic rituals don't happen are probably some who come from religion part and big time struggle to admit also that there's something happened. For me, they are all also victims. But an important thing that was said that is that the pedophile should not be discredited by the satanic rituals. That I fully agree, because more people can cope with pedophilia and can know a little bit more about it, and it's important that this is coming out. All the satanic rituals will just lose their power as soon as the people discover it. So that's why I think it is very important to put the point on the pedophilia and expose the guys who make the pedophilia. And Brian, is not to say that what happened to you is way more big time struggle than a lot of other people who experience pedophile experience. And it is important to talk about both, but it's important that the pedophile stops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there is a distinction to be made as well between what we may laughingly call regular paedophilia and satanic ritual abuse as well, which is a deliberate stealing of the innocence, of the purity of that energy.
I heard something very interesting about high-level sort of abuse, and that your real high-level occult members, they're not interested in the child sex so much. They're interested in the killing. They're only interested in the murder. They want the energy from the kill and the sacrifice. The child sex is very functional, and very functional on a lot of levels. It's good for the blackmail. It's good for the trauma, for the children. You know what I mean? It serves many purposes in their circles. But at the higher levels, they're not really interested in it. It's a means to an end. The sex comes with the ritual, but to them, it's about the blood and the killing. And that's far more sinister in my mind, that you know, paedophilia has become a sort of second fiddle to them. What kind of sick minds are we dealing with where paedophilia is considered, you know, that's not really the main event. Yeah, really.
No, it's not what I'm saying, but what I'm saying that it's more that it is that normal. Let's say the normal people can cope with it, and that they start to think about that their government could be pedophiles. It's more easy to go with it than to tell them straight up that they guys make a satanic rituals, and that it's not to discredit all the work is done about the pedophilia.
I absolutely agree. That's sort of something that I think about joining the dots. Is what it can do is that you introduce people. If you can get the general public used to it's horrible that I'm even saying this. Get the general public used to the idea that the people in charge are paedophiles. How can we ever get used to? But you know what I'm saying? If we can get them used to that, then we can go, oh, and guys, you do realise it's not just paedophilia. They're satanically abusing children too. Yeah. Once they've kind of overcome that hurdle of oh my God, the people in charge are paedophiles, then their minds may be sufficiently open to accept the bigger picture again.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And with that, and on that note, we've only got 3 minutes left of the show. So I would like to thank you all so much for joining in and coming along to discuss this. I'd like, Jabba, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you for talking out and making this show.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We'll have to do more on this topic, obviously. Brian, honey, it's just been. I'm so grateful that you came along to discuss this with us. Can you just, while we're still on it, can you tell us the name of your page on Facebook again? It's I forgot again. It's Jimmy. Can you give the name of the?
Yeah, I'm getting it now. 2 seconds. The quest for justice, or is it truth? Hang on, where are we? The quest. My Facebook's gone into the quest.
I mean, we'll put all of. We'll link everybody's.
I've got it. It's the quest for justice, the real truth behind child abuse. Okay,
the quest for justice, the real truth behind child abuse. And we were also, the main premise of the show tonight was to draw people's attention to the Join the Dots website. So, Jamie, would you like to give out the URL or the web address for that, please?
It's childabusejointhedots.wordpress.com, and you can reach us on email if you need to at childabusejointhedots@gmail.com.
There you go, childabusejointhedots@wordpress.com.
.wordpress.com.
.wordpress.com,
and we'll be posting those on the website as well. On the guest page, I think is where it goes, but certainly it will be on there, or links.
And let's just mention Jab's website, which is BD-coded.
It's Babylon Decoded. Babylon Decoded.
Sorry, Jabba.
No problem. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for a great show.
Yes, thank you very much,
Thank you.
everyone.